All right, and so that wraps up the prelims. Time to move on to the main card, the pay-per-view, and kicking off the main card for us is a middleweight bout between Julian Marquez and Maki Pitolo. Not gonna lie, man, it's making me want some Maki myself right now.
Yo, I'm always thinking about sushi, and I'm like, fuck, I would love to go to some, even some beautiful Ito. I could just do some Ito with you,
My man, I'd love to see that you made a stop by there the other day. So. Definitely making me want some Maki. So, on one side, we got Julian Marquez or the Cuban Missile Crisis. What an interesting nickname this man is. So, he comes in with a 7-2 record, has yet to make his UFC debut. So the fact that he's making it on a main card in a pay-per-view is just nuts to me. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this guy has to bring. His last fight was actually back in 2018 when he lost to Alessio Di Chirico, who we actually saw recently. And that was on a tough finale, I believe.
But do you remember, that was just the card, but do you remember where do you remember Alessio Di Chirico from recently? I think you should know where you've seen him.
Well, unfortunately, the win against Joaquin Buckley. So.
But my favorite part of that entire event was the aftermath. We showed the video of Dana's reaction when he went over to congratulate the guy. Remember his reaction? That was still one of the funniest videos.
For sure.
What's up with that guy?
So good, man. So this will be Julian's UFC debut here. We did mention that he lost to Alessio Di Chirico last. Prior to that, he had won 5 in a row and against some guys who are in the UFC now, Phil Hawes, Darren Stewart. So, the man should kind of be ready here. On the flip side, we got Coconut Bombz, another great.
I know. Yo, Coconut Bombz versus Cuban Missile Crisis. That's the one, right? Oh God,
that's the one. That's the one. Yeah. And man, even looking into this man has Coconut Bombz gear, yo. It's so sick.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So, Coconut Bombz, he comes in with a 13-7 record. He is 1-3 in the UFC, and he has lost 2 in a row, and both in 2020. One to the hands of Impa, who, had the infamous knockout courtesy of Joaquin Buckley. And the next one was Darren Stewart, who he lost via guillotine. He did have a win in 2020 as well. He did knock out Charles Bird. So, really looking forward to seeing this one. Julian making his debut. Where do you see this one going?
Yeah, so it's kind of hilarious. Like this fight, I wish you kind of watched the Julian Marquez versus Phil Hawes fight. Really kind of talk about how good Julian Marquez is, right? A part of me really thought that he was going to be more active. I thought I was going to see him fight more often. That was back in 2017. So let's talk about where Phil Hawes is now and where Julian Marquez is. You know what I mean? So I thought he was able to secure a pretty good win over Darren Stewart. The Vitor Miranda fight fell through. So that was supposed to be the big name fight for him. He's such a powerful striker. And the thing that I love about him is he kind of comes he's a big burly man. He comes in at a thick
he's a big boy for sure.
Yeah, he comes in at a nice thick 6'3", you know what I mean? I think that reach and that skill on the feet and the power, man, it's just going to be really, really tough for Maki to deal with. And I think even when you think back to his fights against Impa Kasanganay, we know that he's very much a counter style striker. So, that decision loss, it's very telling of the style of fight that was, you know what I mean? Even with Darren Stewart, I think that you can kind of see that there's certain things about Maki's game that he's certainly improving on, but at the same time, right now, this is going to be a very real striking battle. And I think the big thing for me is we got to expect Marquez to just be an absolute massive favorite.
Well, let's dive right into that. How big of a favorite do you think he is?
I want to say my number right now is my potential number here has him as the highest favorite on the card. And,
wow.
And I'm just trying to go through the card quickly to see if I was a little bit just tipsy in real life at the time, but you know what? I'm going to go with a clean -300. I think Julian Marquez deserves to be a -300 on this fight.
So what you're saying is that -175, we're definitely taking it.
Yeah, bro. And if you're not taking that and sprinkling that under, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, so I was going to say, man, given that he's only a -175, that knockout has to pay decent.
So here's my thing. This is a typical, let's have this conversation, right, Paisan? This man in the first few rounds is a beast. But one thing we can say is we talked about how thick he was. What do we know about guys like this?
They get tired real quick.
Yeah, so man, if Maki Pitolo can truly deal with some of this damage, and for real, maybe try to work in some of this, some takedowns, work against defense. Like in reality, you're really just trying to take away someone's power, and the way you do that is by getting in close. And in this fight, you can very much utilize some grappling, right? And when you think about the takedown defense, I'm just quickly looking it up here. Julian Marquez doesn't go for takedowns at all. He is trying to strike, and he's trying to strike clean. And when you look at the striking stats, both of these guys are very much line in line. Like, Pitolo lands and hits pretty much at a, he lands at 5 and he hits it 4 per minute. So it's like he's definitely throwing and getting hit. When you look at Marquez, it's along the same lines, but in the 3 range. So the activity is going to be there on the feet. My question is like, well, that 66 takedown accuracy, 66% over 15 rounds is actually, or 50 minutes is really, really good at the UFC level. So Maki Pitolo, you want to, prove these guys wrong. I would totally be trying to, get in that distance and keep it close and avoid those power strikes. Like what he did to Phil Hawes. I mean, that's you basically turning away from a man who has nothing but power and ready to throw strikes, like kicks like that at any point in time.
Yeah, like you said, man, he's really going to have to aim to slow him down, reduce that power so that in rounds 2 and 3, when even those are landing, they're not, doing as much damage as they would in the early rounds. So, stay tuned for that one. We'll probably be looking at some over-unders as well once they get released. And once we do, we'll lock some stuff in for you guys.
Most definitely. I'm loving that fight.
That was a true treat. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button if you haven't already done so. Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff is down there. Give us a follow. Pics will be on there. Always a treat with you, Mr. Sukuman.
My man, Mr. Paisan.
We'll see you guys soon, man.